There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so my name is Jennifer Crow, and we're going to be talking about what to expect when you're being inspected, as well as backflow prevention. So again, my name is Jennifer. I've worked at ADQ, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, in the Safe Drinking Water Value Stream as an inspector and compliance officer since 2019. Prior to working here, I did work alongside SWIP, where I did SWIP, which is a stormwater prevention program at construction sites, and I also worked at AmeriCorps. I do have a bachelor's in conservation, ecology, and biology from ASU, and I also do have my operator certificate, which I got last year in 2021. So why are we here today? So ADQ wants you to be prepared for your customers for the inspection and be in compliance at the time of inspection. The best practices for preparing for an ADQ inspection and to make sure your backflow devices are being tested annually and accurately. We are also here to assist you if you have any questions or concerns. We want to help you during the inspection and even before the inspection. So what are we expecting from you guys? The expectation from ADQ is that your water system is in compliance at the time of inspection. ADQ provides you with all the information needed to be in compliance. As a water system owner, you are responsible for protecting the health of your customers by maintaining your system in compliance at all times. So what is a backflow device and what does it mean? A backflow is a reverse flow condition that causes water or a mixture of water and other liquids, gases, or substances to flow back into the distribution system. Backflow can be created by a difference in water pressure, a vacuum or partial vacuum, or a combination of both. And then this picture is showing a backflow device. So what is a cross connection? A cross connection is a physical connection between a public water system and any source of water or substance that may lead to contamination of the water provided by the public water system through backflow. As you can see in this picture, you have your normal flow, which is potable to non-potable, and then a backflow is from non-potable water going into your potable water. So backflow prevention assembly is a mechanical device used to prevent backflow. Backflow preventers keep contaminants from flowing back into your drinking water system. So here are some types of backflow devices, which is a pressure vacuum breaker, a double check valve, a double check detector check, and a reduced pressure zone. And we'll go over these a little bit further in just a minute. So pressure vacuum breaker is a device containing one or two independently operated spring-loaded check valves and an independent operated spring-loaded air inlet valve located on the discharge side of the check or checks. These are commonly used for home sprinkler systems. While a double check valve is essentially two single check valves coupled within one body or furnishes within test cocks and two tightly closed gate valves. These protect against both back siphonage and pressure and back pressure conditions. And then again, here's a photo of a double check valve assembly. So a double check detector check is an outgrowth of the double check valve. It's a spring-loaded check valve separated by an atmospheric vent chamber, and these are primarily used in fire line installations. And then there's a picture as well. So a reduced pressure zone are double check valves within an atmospheric vent capacity placed between the two checks. The pressure zone backflow preventers are commonly installed on high hazard installations such as car washes, hospital rooms, and that type of stuff. So here's some examples of what cross connections are, which is like improperly installed irrigation systems, improperly plumbed water devices such as hot tubs, commercial dishwashers, irrigation systems served by private wells, or interconnections between potable and a non-potable system. So a good cross-connection program has education and training, testing and tracking, and record retention. So you always want to make sure that you're educated and that you understand how to test and what a backflow is. You should have training going on, testing, and then always keep those records. When we get on site for an inspection, the ADQ inspector will ask to see records from at least the last 3 years of past backflow devices. If your system does not have the records, or if your backflow device has not passed, this can result in a notice of violation. So who are we inspecting? As public water systems, we inspect public water systems, and they have 15 service connections or regularly serve an average of at least 25 individuals at least 60 days out of the year. This is the basic layout of a drinking water system. So this goes over a well or source with the designated 55 number on it. And then it goes into treatment or chlorination, then storage, and then to the EPDS, which is your entry point to distribution system, which should always be located after treatment, after storage, and after your pressure tanks, but before your very first service connection. And then it should go into your distribution system, which can be communities, schools, restaurants, campgrounds, rest stops, all of that, standpipes. So how often are we inspecting water systems? We inspect water systems for a community system every 3 years, which can be like city water, and then 5 years for non-transient, non-community water systems, which are like schools, and then transient water systems, which are like gas stations or restaurants. Those are every 5 years as well. So what is a sanitary survey or an inspection? Those words are kind of interchangeable. So there's 3 types of inspections. We have a file review, an unannounced sanitary survey, and an announced sanitary survey. A file review is done in the office by an ADQ personnel by overlooking files and records of your water system. These can still lead to enforcement actions. These are usually monitoring issue concerns or something like that. While an unannounced sanitary survey is a sanitary survey done by an ADQ inspector without prior notification of the representative party of that water system. So as an ADQ inspector, we can always just show up to your water system. And then we have an announced sanitary survey, which is the most common. It is a sanitary survey once the representative party has been notified of the inspection, and this is usually anywhere between 15 to 20 days before the inspection. So how to prepare for that sanitary survey. So the inspector's preparation, what we do is we review the facility's history, and then we'll contact the facility. We'll summarize the compliance consultation in an email, and then we will provide the facility tools to be in compliance. So here's an email we will usually send out In this email, we send it to usually the representative party and then the operator as well. Once the date and time are agreed upon, that will be in this email. This email also goes over the compliance history of your system, any paperwork that the AD&Q inspector will be looking at, which is like the MSSP, lead and copper, your emergency operation plan, anything like that, depending on your system, if you are a community, non-transient, or transient system. We also included the pre-inspection checklist, your prior inspection report. So last time you were inspected, that will be in here. The inspection report, and then sometimes even the system grading sheet, so you can kind of see what is going on. The system can always send us any paperwork prior to the inspection, as well as any photos of like the gasket on top of your storage tank, or if you have any questions regarding for the inspection. So we include, like I said, the pre-inspection checklist for your water system to be reviewed to be in compliance at the time of inspection, the system grading sheet, the inspection report to review what we will be looking at during that site visit, and then, like I said, your older inspection report for you to review to make sure if you had any deficiencies, those were corrected. And then we were doing virtual with COVID. We're not anymore, but when we were doing virtual, it was just a list of clear and concise photos for that inspection. So this is the pre-inspection checklist. This goes over what we'll be looking at the time of inspection. It is recommended that you fill this out at the time before the inspection. And you can show us at the time of inspection. We'll kind of do a brief look over. And this focuses on general paperwork, the physical facilities, and then common violations. So at the bottom of this, we've kind of revised it to make sure that you are seeing good conditions of photos that we've found in the field of what we are looking for, gaskets on your storage tanks, overflow pipes that are screened, a sanitary seal that looks good, no cracks in your well slabs, stuff like that. Your storage tank isn't leaking. And again, this is something that you should fill out prior to the inspection. So during doing these, it definitely shows. We have researched in 76% of facilities that did complete the compliance consultation were in compliance at the time of inspection. So it definitely shows. Like I said, you should do it beforehand. It helps you prepare for the sanitary survey. So steps to take for a compliant inspection is have a knowledgeable person available, review your own monitoring history, which you can find at this link, and then review any documents sent by ADQ and review that checklist. So the basic setup for a drinking water inspection. What we're going to do is when the ADQ representative gets on site, we'll first go over the notice of inspection rights. And then we'll start looking at your paperwork. Like I said before, all of those sampling plans, depending which one is applicable for your system, the MSSP, the emergency operation plan, the backflow records, all of that type of stuff. We'll look at, like I said, those records, any maintenance logs like O&M manuals, anything like that, or any other relevant documents. And then we'll go and do a full physical walkthrough of your entire facility. We'll be looking at all your storage tanks, all your treatments, everything. So know your rights when we get on site based off of the ARS 49104B8, cites regulatory authority to perform the inspection. At this time, the inspector will go through that notice of inspection rights form with the RP or with the operator, and then we'll ask for your signature at the bottom of that form. And this is the inspection the notice of inspection rights form, like we just went over, it kind of goes over everything. The ADQ representative will read this with you on site. We'll go over everything. And then, like I said, we will, or the on-site representative will sign it. So here is the regulatory documents that will be reviewed at the time of inspection, which, like I stated earlier, the microbiological sampling plan, the lead and copper plan, depending on your system. So lead and copper is for community and non-transient, non-community systems. The emergency operation plan, which is for community water systems. And then the disinfection byproduct plan, which is for community or non-transient, non-community water systems, primarily for any residual disinfectant other than ultraviolet. So any records, additional records that we'll look at are the operation and maintenance records. These include records of routine components, operation and maintenance, like the pumping rate, well maintenance, treatment system maintenance, component repairs, that type of stuff. Monitoring records are required to be kept on site for a determined amount of time, depending on the type of record. Generally, records are required to be kept anywhere between 3 to 10 years. And then the backflow prevention, which is testable backflow prevention devices, are required to be tested annually by a certified tester. Public water systems are required to retain testing records for at least 3 years. Like I discussed earlier, ADQ inspector will be asking for all of this at the time of inspection. So the day of inspection, what do? Well, we have a checklist, and this is the first page of that checklist, which is just the general information that we ask at the time of inspection, such as do we have the correct mailing address, do we have the correct physical address, the admin contact, operator. We want to make sure our data and our records are correct as well. So if anything needs to be updated, such as service connections, population, anything like that, we'll update it right at that moment. And then when we go back to our office, we'll update it in our system. And then the sanitary survey is broken down into 8 sections, which is source, treatment, distribution system, finished water storage, pumps, facilities and controls, monitoring data, verification, water system management and operations, and then operator compliance within the state requirements. So the first one, the first section, like I said, was sources. Many things that are considered under source, and these are things that the ADQ inspector will look at, such as do you have a raw water sampling tap? Are your vents turned down? Do you have a sanitary seal? Do you have any cracks in your well slab? Is it enclosed with like a fence around it? All of that type of stuff. Do you have a shut-off valve? These are all questions that the ADQ inspector will be looking at or asking. Next is disinfection. The ADQ inspector will look at if your disinfection has the NSF 60 approved logo on it. This is really important to make sure that you are using correct certified disinfectant. If it does not have this logo, it will result in a notice of violation. So this is really important. And then we go into treatment and storage. So these have a lot of the different components as well, kind of like how source was, which it goes over like the overflow pipes. Are they screened? Is it properly fenced? Is there a gasket, again, on the hatch of the storage tank? Is that locked? There are obviously lots of different treatments, so it can kind of be a case-by-case basis, depending on what type of treatment you have. If it is for arsenic or nitrate or something like that, But a lot of stuff we will be looking at is about your media, your O&M manual. Again, this is kind of a case-by-case basis, but we might ask questions about how often you change your media or something like that. And then here are just some photos of storage tanks, a gasket, and then treatment. So next on the report, it goes over pressure tanks. Looking at a pressure gauge, which is important, the pressure relief valve, a water sight gauge, all of that. And then again, we'll look at if you have any backflow devices, we'll check those out, making sure again it is just tested like we've discussed a few times. And also we'll be asking about, do you have any separate non-potable water, or what is your system pressure? So next is the approval to construct and approval of construction. You have to go through this to gain that permit anytime you are doing anything to your system. So a facility shall not start to construct a new public water system or modify an existing facility, including an extension to an existing public water system, or make an alteration that will affect the treatment, capacity, water quality, flow, distribution, or optional performance of a public water system before receiving an approval to construct from the department. A new public water system must comply with the capacity development rules in the Arizona Administrative Code, AAC R18-4-601. So these are the applications of the ATC and the AOC. You will fill these out based off of what you're doing to your water system, if you're installing treatment or a water line, storage tank, and then you'll be sending these to our ADQ engineers and they'll review them and talk. I highly recommend you can set up a pre-inspection, or I'm sorry, a pre-application meeting with our engineers, and then they can help you walk through this process and how much the fee is and all of that, because there is a fee to submitting these applications. So on this part of the report, it goes over operators of the water system. They have to be certified of the correct grade of the system. This is also a big factor when inspecting to make sure that the system is graded properly. And we'll go over how to grade your water system later. And the operator also has to be the correct grade to operate your water system. Other things that the inspector might ask, depending on if you're a remote inspector or a on-site inspector, is how far you live from that facility. Is it within the 200 road miles? Are you at least visiting at the site once a month? And are you filling out the monthly operator checklist? While if you are an on-site operator, you need to be on site at all times, or you should have a relief operator no lower than 1 grade below your system. So this is the certified operator monthly inspection form. This is on our website, or if you ever need this, you can always ask and we can send it to you. This is I highly recommend that you fill this out every time that the operator performs their monthly inspection of the system. Keep in mind that when you go to your system, that you should not just be there for a few minutes just to take your sample. You should be performing this, filling out this form, or performing a full inspection of your water system, making sure that all of your valves are checked, that everything is working properly and functioning properly. You don't want the day of the inspection for us to come and we see a big hole in your casing, or there's cracks all over your well slab or something like that, And if when you go every month, if you fill this form out, it will make sure that you're in compliance and you're staying in compliance for your water system and serving that clean, safe drinking water. Another part of the inspection is the sampling overview, which again, this can kind of depend on your type of facility. If you're a community, non-transient, non-community, or a transient, some apply and some don't apply. Again, this goes over just all of your sampling for arsenic, nitrate, inorganic compounds, synthetic organic compounds, and again, if you are part of a MAP system or not, or you could even be a part of MAP but be taking extra samples for nitrate or arsenic or something like that. So before the time of inspection, we will be reviewing your sampling plan and making sure that you're in compliance and going over this. There's also a system grading sheet, which public water systems are graded from a 1 to 4 basis upon a point system that is assigned a predetermined number of points per the system's characteristic. So like a pressure filter is 15 points, blending is 5 points, and hypochlorite liquid or solid is 2 points. The grade corresponds with the level of system complexity, with grade 1 being the most simple and a grade 4 being the most complex. All public water systems require an operator in direct charge who is certified at or above the grade of that facility. And then don't forget, a grade 3 and 4 for public water systems are required to be an on-site operator. So this is a photo of a treatment grading sheet. As you can see, this goes over all treatment that might be applicable to your water system. This includes things like the max design capacity, the pH adjustment, which can be 3 points, taste odor, which is like 8 points. If you have the flocculation, sedimentation, if you have residual waste stream or a pressure filter, which is 15 points, you have chlorine gas, which is 6, or like I said earlier, the liquid or solid hypochlorite is 2 points. So at the bottom, all of this is totaled up, and then it depends on your system. So a grade 1 is 1 to 25 points. A grade 2 becomes from a 26 to 50. And then so on. So as you can see, a grade 3 is 51 to 70, and anything over 70 points is a grade 4. This is the distribution grading sheet. So this one goes over pressure zones, which is 5 points, booster stations, which is 5 points, storage tanks, which is 3 points. It also does not matter if you have 1 storage tank to 6 storage tanks, it's just 3 points, or you have more than 1 pressure zone, again, it's just 5 points. As you can see on here, again, it goes over the hypochlorite liquid or solid, and then again, for would it get your total, whatever total it becomes. So grade 2 is anywhere from 1 point to 20 points. Grade 3 is from 21 points to 35 points. Grade 4 is anything over 35. And then for smaller systems, it is just you become a D1 or a grade 1 system if you check all of these boxes in this box below. So if you only distribute groundwater, if you serve fewer than 500 people, if you don't disinfect or disinfect by chlorine gas or hypochlorite, and then if you are either not storing water or storing water only in storage tanks. If you're a yes to all 4 of those questions, then you're automatically a grade 1 or a D1 system. So were you in compliance at the time of inspection? So what happens after the inspection? So after the inspection, A report is issued to the responsible party or the on-site representative, either at the time or usually the day after. ADQ will reserve the right to issue an inspection report after the inspection, but it cannot exceed 30 days. The report will identify whether the ADQ, if ADQ will take any further action, or if potential deficiencies were identified, then further correspondence may be forthcoming. So here is a notice of opportunity to correct form. This is an informal enforcement tool. This can be field issued at the time of inspection. And this goes over things like minor deficiencies, such as an overflow pipe that was not screened, like I said before, cracks in the well slab, if you don't have a sanitary seal. These are more minor, like I just said, and it can be resolved quickly, which is why it is field issued. So if this is field issued, then the ADQ inspector will go over this form with you. You and the ADQ inspector will sign this at the bottom. You guys will look at time frames for how many days it'll take to complete this and so on. Compared to this is a notice of violation form, which is also an informal form of enforcement. These are significant deficiencies, such as an emergency operation plan for a community water system that was not filled out, monitoring and reporting requirements not met. So if a system did not take a sample at the correct time or something, or if you need to submit or send out a public notice or something like that, a failure to obtain a approval to construct or approval of construction, and again, no record of testing of the backflow prevention devices. NOVs cannot be field issued, and they need manager approval before sending to the representative party. If deadlines in these NOVs are not met, it can escalate to a more formal enforcement action, such as a consent order or a compliance order, or you can even be referred to the Attorney General's office. So one thing, so here are some of the most common violations. Storage tank overflow pipes that were not screened, no raw water sample tap, excess vegetation around your storage tank or just around your site. Again, no backflow records to review on site, not having a gasket on your storage tank, or like we said, failure to obtain an approval to construct and an approval of construction for your water system. So one thing that you'll notice when it comes to all these common traits are typically found at an inspection is they fall under these 4 categories, which they're commonly issued, they're easy to correct, they can be field issued, or they're usually field issued, and then they are reported to the EPA as an operation and maintenance deficiency. So a lot of these are, like we said, really easy things, easy to correct, such as cracks in your well slab or a gasket on your storage tank. So how do you stay in compliance? Our ADQ website is a great tool to stay in compliance. We try and give you all of the tools to stay in compliance before your inspection. ADQ has, like I said, a great website. On this website, you can there's lots of questions about operator certification, templates for your MSSPs, which is your microbiological site sampling plan, the disinfection byproduct plan, the emergency operation plan. It goes over drinking water rules, sampling guidelines, and even engineering review. And if you ever have questions about our website, you can always call somebody and we are more than welcome to help you. So this is the basic web page. Right when you get to our website, you can go to water quality programs. And then, like I said, there's a whole bunch on the side right here. It goes over if you are looking for the monitoring assistant program, operator certification, public water systems, safe drinking water, etc. So I just picked out a few to look at. So like the operator certification, which is on a photo on the left here. It goes over like how to become an operator, how to sign up for the exam. This also goes over different grading from a grade 1 to a grade 4 for your facility, any program fees that you might have to pay. It also goes over the operator certification portal, which is all the way at the bottom of that screen. And that's where you're going to upload your PDHs today. On the right, this is requirements for a public water system, which has the operator contract template if you ever want to use that. It also has that monthly operator checklist on this page. It also goes over what is MAP, or does your system need that monitoring assistant program, or do you need to get into that? It can also go over the consumer confidence reports, which are your CCRs, when those are due, lead and copper guidance, and how or why to prepare for that sanitary survey. What is a public water system, kind of like we discussed. And then here's some more on the left. It goes over the engineering review, which is really important for the ATC AOC submittal. If you have any questions about that, the applications are on this page, as well as Bulletin 8 for disinfection. If you need help with any of that, it also has Bulletin 10. There are even examples of the minimum criteria needed to submit to ADQ for the water lines, storage tanks, well construction, and booster pump drawings. It also has the engineering's email and phone number if you ever have questions, or like I discussed earlier, if you want to set up that pre-application meeting, that I highly recommend. There's also a compliance assistant for drinking water that provides help, templates, or forms that are needed that need to be submitted to your compliance assistant coordinator, which you can also find on this page, who your CAC is, or your compliance assistant coordinator for your county. It also, as you can see, goes over any information you need about public notices, revised total coliform, lead and copper, again, your consumer confidence report, anything like that. ADQ, our webpage is just a great learning tool. So during COVID-19, ADQ, we're still performing sanitary surveys. We want to make sure that the public, is having a safe drinking water at all times. So please work with us to ensure public safety. So if you have any questions, you can always contact me. Again, my name is Jennifer Crow, or you can also contact Karen Shanafel.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for that presentation. We do have some questions for you. The first question being, how do we know if it is 3 or 10 years for record keeping?
So depending on the record, so for 3 years are, like I said, usually backflow, compared to 10 years, it can be like O&M manuals and stuff like that. Does that help?
Okay, and the next question is, for testing of backflow prevention devices, is it true that the facilities with cross connections will conduct the annual testing and provide the results to the public water system?
Yeah, so if you have a testable backflow device in your system, you are responsible for getting that tested annually if it is in your distribution system.
Alrighty. And the next question is, do you need to let ADEQ know if you add a shed to hold a generator?
No, so anything that is changing your water system or your water quality. So that's why we look at, like if you're installing a chlorinator that is changing your water so that, or treatment, water lines, anything like that. But just installing a shed to protect your, or to hold something, no.
Okay, next question is, where can we access the monthly inspection report?
That monthly inspection checklist is on the ADQ webpage here. Am I still sharing? So if you go, let's see, public water systems, and then it is on here. Actually, I think it's under operator certification. I'm sorry. So it is under on our webpage. If you go to water quality programs and then operator certification, if you scroll down to the bottom, there is that operator certification monthly checklist, and it is a PDF that you can print. I don't know why it's not showing. Here it is. I've seen where some systems, they even laminate it so they can redo it, or some systems, and they do it every single time when we go out and inspect.
Okay, and the next question is, how do public water systems find out whether the record should be kept for 3 or 10 years?
There is a way. Let me look it up and I will get back to you on that. I know that there's a specific documentation, one that is 10 years and one that is 3 years. If you give me your email or your phone number, I will call you and we can discuss that further.
Okay. The next question is, do we need to contact ADEQ or the county if we put a stock filter in line with an existing sand separator?
Yes, you should call the engineers for that because you're changing your water quality.
Alrighty. Those were all the questions for today. Thank you so much, Jennifer, again for that presentation.